Good afternoon. My name is Francesca Di Stefano. I'm from CPO Turin, Italy, and I'm presenting communication issues in cancer risk-based approaches, lessons learned from MyPebs study. Risk communication is crucial in the MyPebs study. We define risk communication as an interactive bidirectional process involving exchange of information and opinions related to benefits and risks. It aims at improving risk comprehension and promoting informed choices. It is a process in which communication of uncertain statistical data is critical. Here we can see how risk communication was organized in the MyPebs study. A specific visit was dedicated to risk communication, at least for those women for which the risk-based protocol was different from the standard. A video tutorial was offered as a part of the training program for investigators for explaining how to properly conduct a visit dedicated to risk communication. Individual risk sheets were developed for helping women in understanding their risk and screening protocol. It is available on the participant's personal web account and is delivered during the risk communication visit. Furthermore, our communication tools and materials were designed to help the communication to women. A poster attracting attention in health facilities, a leaflet synthesizing the main points of the informed consent form, a flyer including an invitation letter for raising attention to the study, a question and answers guide for explaining the study in details, downloadable from the website, and 2 videos on the rationale and on the trial procedures visible on the website and also on the YouTube channel of the main sponsor. Here you can see the individual risk sheet structure. 4 different risk sheets were developed, one for every risk level. Here you can find the main information included: frequency-based representation of risk and risk-based screening schedule, a warning about breast awareness and update on the relevant information on the web platform, primary prevention recommendations regarding the possibility to reduce the risk on the basis on the healthy lifestyles, country-specific information, and instructions on the use of the web platform. CPO was in charge of conducting the trial in Turin, and here you can see the main figures for our trial site. We enrolled 4,717 women, of which 2,266 were included in the risk-based arm. Within these women, 24.8% had a low risk score, 31.9% had an average risk score, 41.9% had a high risk score, and 1.4% a very high risk score. According to our experience, risk communication starts at the inclusion visit, when important information on how risk is assessed is given to women. And also face-to-face communication allowed to tune into values, beliefs, emotion, and the ability to understand information. We also observed that among women at high risk, there was a feeling of being reassured by a more intensive screening, and many of them shown expectation toward a high risk score because of relatives with cancer or frequent recalls for further assessments. Instead, for women at low risk, we observed insecurity respect to the prolonged interval, and also dropout from the study. 60% of withdrawn participants reported that they withdrew for the prolonged interval. On the other side, it was also crucial to explain that low risk doesn't mean no risk. Considering the implementation of population risk-based screening in the future, we believe that awareness and education campaigns will be essential, as well as a sensitization and training of health professionals, also those who work out of the screening, and of course also the stakeholders' involvement. It is a long process and probably the acceptability will be an issue in the short term. Considering communication, we have identified some criticalities. For example, as told before, attitudes and beliefs towards the intensification of the screening will be crucial. Probably in implementing a population risk-based screening, we will face some barriers to face-to-face communication because of resources constraints, and thus we will have to think about innovative communication tools to reach the women and to make understandable complex issues that refer to the risk assessment. And we will also to face inequalities in digital and health literacy. Thank you for your attention.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cinzia Colombo. I work at the Mario Negri Institute in Milan as a researcher. Today I'm going to present you a literature review on cancer screening risk-based communication. I'm very sorry of not being there with you today, especially in this session on communication, but I hope the discussion will be interesting and also very participated. The literature review is part of the task 1 of the work package 9, and as you see, many activities are planned for the task 1. One is a survey that we have already done to European countries on communication materials in risk-based screening, focus groups with citizens and healthcare professionals that are planned for the next year, and finally the literature review that I'm going to present you today. In the literature, we deal with the risk-based screening communication, but I want to share here some suggestions and recommendations already available regarding communication in screening, because something is already available regarding population-based cancer screening. In particular, I'm presenting you here the suggestion and recommendation by the European Commission Guideline Development Group on Breast Cancer, and in particular regarding the use of decision aid together with the invitation letter explaining the benefits and harms of screening. So decision aid are tools that guide the person through the information available to foster their decision according to their values and preferences. They also deal, the European Commission deal also with how to provide the contents, and so they support the use of graphical representation together with plain language, in particular explaining the changes in both relative risk and absolute risk. Because as the group underlined, the relative risk reduction may be perceived to be larger than the absolute risk reduction, and so it could be persuasive. Also, they strongly recommend to use number in addition to plain language, so to provide the data. And here they also underline the need to use the same denominators for all the outcomes available. So when you present the outcome and you provide the data, you have to be sure that you use the same denominators for all the outcomes. That this could help the person to make comparison, but also to understand better the information you are going to provide. Another suggestion is to pretest the presentation format, so to make a test regarding the format of the information that you are providing to the person. And this is just a very brief reference to what is already available in communication screening, because we start from big context and then deal with risk-based screening. This is the team working in this literature review. As you see, there are many countries participating in this, and they are all, of course, involved in EUCanScreen. This is the aim of the literature review is to assess the effect of risk communication materials and tools on informed decision-making in risk-based screening. And as you see, we aim to cover breast, colorectal, cervical, lung, prostate, and gastric cancer screening. We decided to include systematic reviews at first. Then we will decide if we want to move to primary studies, if no relevant or updated systematic review will be retrieved. The population are people invited or undergoing risk-based screening, but also participants in pilot projects on risk-based screening or potential participants in risk-based screening, let's say the target population. So people who actually participate in risk-based screening or pilot project, or people that would be the target population of risk-based screening. These are the outcomes. So we mainly decided to refer to informed choice, satisfaction with decision-making, confidence with decision-making, and shared decision-making. So a broad range of topics dealing with the decision that a person has to make. Informed choice in particular is a choice that the person made according to the information available and based on their attitudes and intention. The other outcomes are these that you see listed here. Among these, knowledge, but also participation in screening, of course, and intention to participate in screening, but also acceptability and so on, as you can see. We will discuss this point, and we finally decided that we will compare descriptively the results related to communication material and tools by impact on participation in screening. So for the references that are going to consider this outcome, the participation in screening, we will compare the tools according to the rate of participation in screening. Descriptively, we defined a search strategy that was not so easy because this kind of literature is quite variable in terms of terms used and outcomes and so on. So we finally defined the search strategy. And as you can see, we launched this strategy the 1st of August 2025. We decided to refer to this range of date of publication, considering the topic of risk-based screening, and finally we retrieved 1,568 resources. These are the persons involved in the team that is doing the selection of title and abstract. We are completing this phase in these days. As you see, we pilot tested. Then we launched the phase of selection of title and abstract, and till now we are at the 78% of screening of title and abstract by at least 2 reviewers. And so you see the numbers of resources that have been reviewed by 2 persons independently. At this stage, we included 34 title and abstract. That, of course, we have to also proceed with the selection of full text. And this is the list. I don't want you to read, of course, just to provide you a very, very small overview of a title and abstract that we decide to include till now, and that we will move, of course, to the full text to see which one will cover our outcomes. This is a description of the resources that we decided to include at this stage by title and abstract. 11 are on breast cancer screening, 7 on prostate cancer screening, 4 on colorectal and 4 on cervical, and 2 on lung cancer screening. We haven't found any resource dealing with gastric cancer till now. And the other, as you see, more broadly, 11 are on breast cancer screening, 7 on prostate cancer screening, 4 on colorectal and 4 on cervical, and 2 on lung cancer screening. We haven't found any resource dealing with gastric cancer till now. And the other, as you see, more broadly refer to decision tools or cover many other kind of screening. The publication year go from 2011 to 2025. So we have to complete the selection of title and abstract, and then we have to, of course, screen the full text of these resources to see which kind of resources we will decide to include in the literature. I want to show you just two examples of the resources that we included at this stage that deal with personalized risk communication. The other deal specifically with decision aids. So this is the first. It is a systematic review on personalized risk communication for informed decision making about taking screening tests. It was published in 2013, and as you can see, it includes 31 studies with 28,000 and more of participants. It deals with many different conditions, and as you see also with cancer screening. And as you see, the resources related to breast cancer are 23. 11 deal with colorectal cancer, 3 on cervical cancer, and 1 deals with prostate cancer. But the author also select a group of studies in the category of high-risk group, and they include also 9 studies dealing with breast cancer, 3 on colorectal, and 1 on prostate cancer. So as you can see, some primary studies are available regarding risk communication in screening tests. These are the main results, and so 25% of participants who received personalized risk communication and information made informed choices, as compared to 20%. So the participants made more informed decisions about screening when receiving personalized risk communication. These interventions seem to increase knowledge and also may increase accuracy of risk perception. At the same time, they did not affect participant anxiety. And so they did not make participants feel more anxious about receiving information related to their risk of having a cancer. Providing people with personalized risk of a disease resulted in a small increase in the number of people who undertook the screening procedure. As I said, this systematic review deals also with other types of screening tests, not only cancer screening, but it also includes cancer screening. And the authors conclude that many studies are on breast cancer and colorectal cancer, and so they say that cautious is required in applying these results to other types of screening. So these results we can consider that they mainly refer to breast cancer and colorectal cancer screening. This is the other systematic review that we decided to include at this level, and it is titled Decision Aid for People Facing a Treatment or Screening Decision. So it put together screening decision and also treatment decision. As you can see, it's quite recent, 2024 published. And the cancer screening included our colorectal cancer, 17 studies dealing on this, and 15 on prostate cancer and 12 on breast cancer. According to this systematic review, so decision aid probably increase the congruence between informed values and care choices, and also they improve the knowledge and accuracy of risk perception. At the same time, they decrease decisional conflict that is tied to feeling uninformed when making a decision, and also they decrease indecision about personal values and the proportion of people who were passive in decision making. So decision aid seems to support an active role in decision making and to support informed decision according to the value of a person. No difference in decision regret between decision aids and standard communication or other kind of tool. So I wanted to share with you these two resources because they deal with the broad topic of decision aid and also personalized information that can be considered common to all the kind of risk-based screening. At the end, this is a very preliminary list of comments. So it seems that few systematic reviews are available specifically focused on risk communication in risk-based screening, some on prostate and lung cancer screening. Some studies are included in this systematic review, and we have to see if there are enough or not regarding risk communication in risk-based screening. And once the screening is complete, we will decide whether to go to primary study or to refer to the systematic reviews. As I said, we are completing now in this day the screening of title and Nastran, and we will move to the full test screening, and I hope to have the chance and the occasion to share with you the final results of this literature review on risk-based screening. So thank you, and have a nice discussion. Thank you.